let's pretend we don't already have preconceived notions about this and do an exercise in just challenging how we feel about it. Because I think that whether you like Charlie Kirk, whether you didn't, whether you thought he was anti-establishment or not, we need to think about if we are using the dirty playbook of the left as independent thinkers, okay? So I'm just going to challenge you for that, because over the weekend, hundreds actually, of people were fired for celebrating the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. And many companies now are currently warning their employees, don't be next. Now, conservatives are sharing these firings, and they're teaming up to make sure that they happen online. This is an unofficial count from one of the influencers that I follow. So far, 173 firings. I think that's conservative. I've seen hundreds of them, and calls for more. So this may feel like poetic justice, but I just want us all to challenge ourselves to take a beat before we celebrate this and think, can we take it too far in punishing this? Now, I'm not saying these people don't deserve to be fired. I think most of them do, but I'm also not 100% convinced that this won't go too far, and I have proof that it has, in fact. I'm calling for us to collectively have deep introspection and not react too quickly out of anger or pain, which we collectively feel, I'm sure. Remember how far the left went to get people fired for their jobs for speaking out against vaccines, for refusing vaccines, for not calling a man a woman, for not participating in gender hysteria. And they applauded when those people lost their jobs and said, you better go think about this. Hope you starve. They got them kicked off X, kicked off platforms. So here, we should stop to think before we applaud people getting fired. Is this cancel culture, or is this different? Now, or is this professional consequences that have been mostly missing from our society? We see all the time. Kids in school, they slap a teacher, nothing happens with that, right? That kind of thing. There are no consequences. Are we just bringing back a consequence culture? Again, I'm not leading you in any one direction here. I just want us to think about this before it is a runaway cart. Most of the people that were cost their jobs were grotesque celebrations of Kirk's murder. In this case, and I would effing freak if I had a kid in this class, a teacher showed the assassination video repeatedly to 10 and 11-year-olds in the 5th grade who were in a French class, and it was a sub who said, hey, you kids need to see this, and you need to know that this guy deserved it. Repeatedly saying because he was a Nazi and a fascist, and this is what's going to happen to you. The kids were so traumatized they went home crying to their parents. The school fired that person. That was a sub, wasn't even the real teacher. Can you imagine?
No, I can't.
I would freak out.
Just hearing from my guy friends, I'm 48 years old, hearing from my men friends who, like, these are like, U.S. military folks who are like, they're like, I couldn't sleep. Watching that video, it made me, like, they tried to avoid seeing the video, and then, like, the close-up video popped up on their timeline. They're like, no. And they couldn't sleep. Can you imagine 10 and 11-year-olds?
We are grown.
But that's even just, like, choosing to watch it or not. These children didn't have a choice, and they were told that he deserved it.
Right.
There's a special place in hell for that woman.
Now, I don't know in Canada if you can sue the school district, but I'd be prone to say do it. If, again, we need a lawyer to say, but anyhow, 100% that person should be fired for traumatizing children. Not just for that alone, right? This woman was a school police officer in, I believe, either New York or New Jersey. She was fired for saying the sniper was overqualified to kill Charlie Kirk and put a smiley face about it on Instagram. 100%. That person who thinks political violence is acceptable should not be guarding children. She thinks assassinations are funny. I'm with you there. A cheerleading coach in Idaho said she hoped that he was dead when she learned about the shooting. Again, not someone suitable to be around children if she wishes death on people because they disagree with her. I'm with you. But let's think about how severe these punishments can become before we all the way go down this rabbit hole. This woman in California gloated over Kirk's death, and the online mob found her husband's business. She's an influencer in San Diego. She says dumb, privileged, liberal stuff, and other liberal idiots eat it up, which is her right to do. She presumably does this while her husband is off making money. Does his business deserve this? People found his business online. His company website was taken down. Reviews were tanked. Look at the Yelp right now. Yelp says we're reviewing if this is some kind of like media story. The reviews, though, do say this company's founder is related to someone who supports murder, and he's an electrician. So you might not want an electrician in your house if he feels like her, that political violence is justified.
Yeah, let's just ask the audience. Like, if you knew, like, hey, you're going through the phone book, remember phone books? And you're like, oh, I'm looking for Evolution Electrician, and you find out that this person is related to this horrible human being who was championing the assassination of somebody, calling for political violence, championing celebrating it. She was doing dances and like TikTok dances and stuff like that.
In an
like,
Eagle sweatshirt, Clayton. She was an Eagle sweatshirt.
Don't even talk about that. But anyway, would you hire that person? Like, if you had a choice and you knew that, I absolutely would not. But as someone in our chat says, Vault Tech 2021 says on our Rumble chat says, this is what I've been saying all weekend. Thank you, Vault Tech, for reading my mind. Words have consequences. You're free to talk, but every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So she was totally free to talk. She's at home all day while her husband's out actually earning a living. She's sipping Merlot and she's hanging out on TikTok, making TikTok videos about the death of Charlie Kirk. Those words have a reaction, and she's got to live with that. Didn't she think when she got on there that this could have an effect on her family?
No, she did not.
No, because
she feels justified in saying that.
She's a Merlot sipping, navel gazing
main character
piece of
syndrome.
Garbage. Yeah,
sure.
Main character syndrome. Exactly.
Okay, but again, we don't know how her husband feels. So we don't know whether or not he deserves this, whether you just don't know, right? And so we can't make these consequences. And then now look how it's gone too far, because companies that have similar names but have nothing to do with this are begging for mercy, like this company, this woman.
We also own a business called Evolution Electric and Solar. My fiance is a electrician here in the city of Escondido. We have nothing to do with them. We are completely two different companies. And sadly, all day today, we had been harassed, threatened, received threat calls, text messages, emails. These calls are every second. And this is very sad because we are human beings, and we do not appreciate that. We don't appreciate these calls. It's sad. It's horrible. We don't appreciate this. We would never do anything to harm anybody.
Okay, so clearly this is collateral damage of something that can go too far, right?
Yeah, so their business is getting caught up in what this woman did,
and they have nothing to do with it whatsoever. So this is not a First Amendment argument. Of course, the First Amendment only prevents the government from punishing your speech. No one, as far as I know, has been arrested for these disgusting, jubilant posts. But the First Amendment doesn't stop an employer from firing you, because an employer can absolutely say glorifying murder should not be associated with our brand, and they can decide you are no longer a good representative of your brand. It's legal for them to do that. I don't see anyone saying this is a wrongful termination suit. Do you? I got fired because I said this. I mean, now that I think about it, there will be some dirty lawyer who will take this up and sue a company for firing them about Charlie Kirk. Yeah, we will see that.
Of course,
I'm pretty sure we will see that.
We'll absolutely
that somebody will say there was a Washington Post columnist that was fired for saying, like, no one's going to learn from this. This is what, all kinds of things.
As a business, you have the right to who works for you, and you can say, I don't want people who are championing the assassination of other individuals. If we shared all of those blue sky posts the other day. All these people taking a blue sky, which is like a liberal echo chamber, and they're like, yeah, we need to go kill this person next. You need to kill this person next, and they're calling for violence against all sorts of political commentators and people on television and so forth. Like, if we found out like one of those people like worked for you, like you'd fire that person.
Yeah, you don't want that. We wouldn't want that associated with Redacted in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, of course not.
Absolutely, we would do that. So again, I think that possibly this can go too far, and we have to think about this before we just get crazy. But maybe this is just a revival of professional norms, right? We have not, that it's a reminder that what you say in public reflects your professional life. That's the way it's got to be. And unfortunately, liberals have had impunity to do and say whatever they want, look scary in the workplace, whatever, ask for special needs. Everything has been afforded to liberals, and they are shocked that they are facing consequences.
Lee Savannah, am I saying this right? Lee Sanvilla, sorry, in our Rumble chat says, I hate cancel culture. I do too.
100%. That's why we're doing this segment, because we can't be hypocrites about it. We cannot have moral hypocrisy.
I think like you said, like businesses have the right to do that and citizens have the right to do that. Where I really get caught up or hung up on this is when you've got people in the government actually coming out saying that they're there was a senator that posted something like we're going to use the full power of the Senate to come after you for posting these things. You've got the president, vice president. That's where I have a problem.
You can't. The government cannot do this.
Yeah. That's Gestapo tactics. That cannot stand. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we, celebrate people like Rand Paul and Thomas Massey and others. It's like, no. A senator can go on social media and say, I find it repugnant that you would celebrate the death of, whomever. Doesn't matter who it is. But then to say we're going to use the United States Congress to start investigating, going after these people.
Nancy Mace has said that she's calling on the Department of Education to defund any educational institution that does not punish anyone who said these things. So there was several at Clemson. Clemson's been trending because they had a lot of disgusting faculty who posted things like this, and they didn't fire these people fast enough. That can't be it. Clemson has to tank themselves. And if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. And we have to respond accordingly. We cannot have the government doing this 100%.
But also, why are U.S. taxpayer dollars, as what J.D. Vance said earlier today, U.S. taxpayer dollars were going to fund the likes of The Nation, who, openly calling for or, celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. Why are U.S. taxpayer dollars going to support these political commentating websites and so forth, or universities that are pushing this type of thing?
But you can't punish them for it. That's
you can take away their money.
Thing. No, I'm saying that I don't think they should.
Well, I don't think we should be giving these places money at all anyway. So I'm already a champion.
But it can't be because of this, I think.
Well, I think it can be. I mean, I don't know. Why are we giving taxpayer dollars to these public institutions anyway? They make billions of dollars. Why the hell do I have to fund them? Why do U.S. taxpayers have to fund them?
Well, that's a whole other discussion. Yes, I'm cool with defunding the Department of Education and not funding universities and making. Yes, I'm down with that. But again, it's a different thing to use the power of Congress to censor speech like this, because you have to be free to say heinous things, but yes, still suffer the consequences. In a capitalistic world where we all decide we don't want to do business with you. You can't protect my children in a classroom. You can't do this if you like murder. So anyway, but the flip side of this, which also scares me, which we cannot ignore, is you don't want anarchists lurking in the silence, right? Because are you going to change the hearts and minds of these people who feel this way? Probably not. Do you want them to be silent so that you don't see them coming? That's scary. We have to admit that that's a terrifying. At least we have, we want all the freaks out in where we can see them. Don't you think?
Yeah, on Blue Sky. It's a good place to start. If you're hanging out on Blue Sky or Reddit,
right,
you can pretty much get a sense of what's going on out there.
Yeah. So say that, but again, so this is tricky. Nobody should feel completely convinced of one thing or the other. I mean, again, I feel convinced that anyone who puts this on kids, who's around kids, should not celebrate murder. Pretty clear on that one. Pretty good. I'm
but I don't need these virtue signaling members of Congress going out there telling me they're going to take away our free speech for some political cause that they believe in. That's, in the same way that I don't want them telling me what I can and cannot say about Israel or whatever. You're going to take away my passport because I'm critical of Israel? Right. Screw you.
And then in a world where we have empathy, we want people to be able to support their families. We want people to live and prosper and work as productive members of society. What do we think should happen to these people, honestly? Nobody wants them to starve and freeze to death in the winter. So let's have some grace. Like, what happens to a person like that, like a cheerleading coach or a security, detail at a school, or what do we think? What do we hope in a kind way? What could we say? Not just yay, go starve, F off. Right?
No, I mean, I would say, look, I know there's this, it depends on how you feel about going to church or any, non-denominational or faith, but, I hope you can be embraced by a community that could show you love. At the end of the day, maybe you could go to church or something, or maybe you could go to a youth group meetup or something and talk and have a conversation with people. Because, like, how do you have this kind of hate in your heart, like, for someone being assassinated? What kind of demons, are robbing you of your life that are, you've been so swallowed up by this that you're celebrating the death of somebody like that?
Right.
Like, I hope that you find solace, whether it's through meditation, whether it's a group of, like-minded people of your age who can maybe kind of pull you back from this abyss. I don't know, but that's what I would say. And I think maybe reflected in the same way that Charlie Kirk would say when he was in debates with people, he was always like, I just hope you're able to find peace in this.
I want to see what our comments are, but you.
Okay.
I asked a real question. I want to see what people had to say. Which one's working? That one? Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that very much. So let's collectively think about this before we lose our head, because we are a place where cooler heads prevail. We really try. And that's what I have to say about that. Let's just think. We can't always think we know, what's best right now. So that's that. Anything else to add? Let's see, anybody?
You wanted to read comments.
I did.
So do it. Talk about Brian Kilmeade, people.
No, I don't want to. Glenn Greenwald did a great piece on how Americans celebrated the death of Osama bin Laden, and that was a bad look for us. And I think you seek that out. I'm not going to repeat his. But, anytime you're in a place where you're celebrating death, that puts you in the place where you've decided that you're God and who gets to live and who gets to die. And that's not what humans were designed to do. So let's all think compassionately right now. That's the only way we're going to get through this. That's how I feel. I hope that, we challenge ourselves in thinking this through. That's all I'm going to say.